Hi, you're with Bear Friday Body Language, and today we're looking at the shooting in California, Thousand Oaks. So before we start, I'd just like to say that any loss of life is tragic. I'm not going to be disrespectful to innocent people who have been caught up in this tragedy. We are going to analyse the body language of those that gave testimony to the media directly after the shooting. The emergency service first responders have to be almost dispassionate and not allow their emotions to cloud their judgment. And I'm going to perform this body language analysis in the same way. When incidents like this occur, there are people who say events like this are false flags or scripted, acted, choreographed events to create civil unrest and establish certain political ideas in the minds of society in general, and that the media use these events to perpetuate those ideas. YouTube plays its part in crafting the narrative by demonetizing certain videos or promoting others. This is not a conspiracy theory video. This video that we're going to look at has been published by the BBC, but clearly the footage has been gathered by various media outlets.
We were dancing and I saw someone walk in, and then after that I saw just shots go off and we just got down. It was such a blur, it just happened.
He shot the front desk cashier, and then he went to towards the office and started shooting there, and I saw the people trying to jam into the office and close the door. I don't know what happened. And then he started shooting at the dance floor.
So already this news report is quite difficult to analyse because they only show you a brief image of the people talking and then cut away to this and then cut away to the rest of the scene. But let's take a look at these first two. Firstly, I'm just going to raise a theme that I'm going to come back to a little bit later, which is that these two are actually enjoying the attention that they're getting. Now, that sounds terrible, there's been a terrible tragedy, but they might also be feeling a little relief because it's over. They've not been shot themselves. They personally have not been shot, and now all the telecameras and the attention is on them. And I'll come back to that theme a little bit later in this video. We'll come back to that a little bit later, that idea that people are that self-absorbed that they're gaining some joy from having the attention on them after this event. But if that is the case, then it does help to explain some of these almost overacted accounts, because the cameras are on them, the lights are on them, and now it's their turn to really tell this story. We are seeing signs of shock. There's a dilation in the pupils, but that could be the bright lights. This girl on the left is watching the girl on the right as she delivers the account, and allowing the girl on the right to sort of lead and almost mirroring her expression. Just have a little look at that again.
We were dancing and
Yeah, you can see this girl starts to try and speak, but because of her insecurity, she defers to the other girl.
We were dancing and I saw someone.
And it's almost like a laugh, cry.
We were dancing and I saw someone.
You see that? It almost looks like she's laughing. Now, shock, nerves, embarrassment. People laugh in inappropriate occasions. But I feel this is something that the false flag conspiracy theorists are going to pull out. But I don't think it's because it's fake or she's an actress. I don't think that. I think she's finding it very hard to process a vast wave of emotion the terror, the relief, certainly her own feelings about her own security, and now what every teen in the Twitter generation hopes for, mass attention pointed at them.
I saw someone walk in, and then after that
The camera gets a bit wobbly here, which is pretty bad because this is the thing that you're supposed to be recording for your job. This isn't the camera person's attempt to hide any evidence, to draw away from a poor testimony. It's just they're in a scrum of people.
The shots go off and we just got down. I don't even...
And the other girl does, the lead girl's saying what she's saying, and this girl does try and interject to add in. I think this girl's feeling the effect of shock far more. Her eyes are more dilated, and that shock can disorientate you and make you feel scatterbrained.
The shots go off and we just got down. I don't even... It was such a blur. It just happened.
He shot the front desk.
So that's those first two girls. I'm not getting anything out of the eye movement. She's looking at the people that she's talking to. I'm not getting anything out of the posture. It's all cloaked and guarded. The only thing I'm getting is that strange smile about the whole thing, which I'm reading as relief, being self-absorbed and enjoying the attention. Let's move on.
He shot the front desk cashier. And then he went to the towards the office and started shooting there, and I saw the people trying to jam into the office and close the door. I don't know what happened. And then he started shooting at the dance floor.
So here we're seeing extreme stress. He's biting his lip, he's choking back the words, and this look away is a brief attempt to get away in his mind from what he's talking about. But let's bring this up. Let's just quickly... If you remember, we talked about eye direction in the previous video, and here you can see him looking clearly into remembered auditory. I think he's remembering the sound of the gunshots, the sound of the screaming. Different people veer towards different kinds of learning and memory. Some people are more visual, some people are more auditory. He doesn't really need to look into his memory of these recent events, they're so fresh. But when he's delivering this testimony, it's so stressful that his brain wants him to look away and escape the situation, but also is very quickly turning over the most recent events. The shock won't let him forget it, and also, of course, it's the thing he's talking about, the thing he's thinking about. So there's, in my opinion, there's two reasons for this look away. He wants to get away from talking about it, but he's instantly in that memory. Very stressed.
And then he went to the towards the office and started shooting there, and I saw the people trying to jam into the office and close the door. I don't know what happened. And then
again, our witness is looking deeply into remembered visual, remembered auditory, and you can see the tears in his eyes. They're real tears. You can't really fake real tears.
And he started shooting at the dance floor.
And it's this look away, purely remembered auditory. So my hunch is that this guy's giving us a very honest testimony. False flagger could say that he's remembering his lines or the things he's been told to say. But this is the long, drawn-out gaze of somebody accessing a very fresh and vivid memory, not the darting eye movement of somebody accessing a part of a memory bank for cross-reference. One thing I would say about this chap is, for the false flaggers, he's got very white teeth, he's got a nice neat beard. You know, he almost looks like an actor, because we're so used to seeing these beauty standards. But, you know, who's to say this guy hasn't just internalised those beauty standards and kept his teeth really nice and clean, and his beard in trim, because he wants to look good on a night out.
I watched an officer get shot in front of me, and I had to help drag him to and throw him into the back of the cop car.
This guy's quite interesting because
I watched an officer get shot in front of me, and I had to help drag him to and throw him into the back of the cop car.
he looks straight ahead while he's delivering this. And his eye dilation again. Shock causes eyes to dilate, as will bright lights being shone in your eyes. But as we've seen with a number of these people, they do have the dilated pupils that is more consistent with a shock reaction. False flaggers may claim that they're having light shone in their eyes, but we've seen many interviews with many people whose eyes are nowhere near as dilated as this, despite being well lit. And the consistency of the eye dilation would lead us to believe that all these people have been through a very traumatic experience that's left them in shock. And that's not something that it's easy to fake if you're an actor. So I don't believe this guy's acting. You can see his hair is wet with sweat, and it might have been really hot in the club, and he might have been sweating under that hat. Shock will cause a physiological response, and one of those responses is sweating. And of course he's outside now, he's being interviewed, it's a little bit of time later, there's still a lot of gloss on his face, he's still sweating, he's still in shock. So he's able to just stare straight through the people he's talking to and access that immediate memory of the events that have just happened and give us, again, I believe, an honest account.
I watched an officer get shot in front of me, and I had to help drag him to and throw him into the back of the cop car. He was unresponsive.
There's a lot of blinking and tiny, you might call them micro movements of the eye, and that's all stress. It's just pure stress.
Get shot in front of me, and I had to help drag him to and throw him into the back of the cop car. He was
poor guy. I said I was going to be dispassionate and just do the body language interview, but this is making me feel sad. The death of the officer in itself is tragic, but that these people have had to endure this trauma. People fought and died in wars so that we could have peace, and citizens in peaceful countries should not have to live life as if on a battlefield.
I had to help drag him to and throw him into the back of the cop car. He was unresponsive.
I want to say I'm so sorry for his family. He was a brave man to come into those shots, because it was a scary situation for everyone. It really was.
We've got two to look at here. I'll quickly do this girl. Pure shock. You can see the shivering of the hand, the wide eyes. You can tell that although she seems fixated on something, her mind is elsewhere, probably replaying the events. And the shaking of the hand, the adrenaline, this is just pure shock. And this guy again, our guy with the white teeth, if he's an actor, then he'd be better placed in Hollywood earning millions of bucks, because to me this is a purely emotional response. You could say his eyes were looking over to the bad part, the construction part, but I think he's just looking at the people he's talking to.
I want to say I'm so sorry for his family. He was a brave man to come in.
There's that lick of the lips and the tears. This guy is trying to maintain composure.
His family. He was a brave man to come into those shots, because it was a scary situation for everyone. It really was.
We hear the shots stop or pause. At that point, I knew he was reloading and that there's not much he was going to be able to do. So I jumped up and I looked down, further down along the back of the...
Again, it's disappointing we don't get to see the witness while they're talking, because I've got no way of verifying whether this is coming from a construction or a memory.
We hear the shots stop or pause.
But I would say that these two seem a little more calm. But again, you can see his eyes are very dilated. They seem a little bit further away from the situation. So maybe they've had a little more time to calm down. Maybe he's a more naturally calm person. His friend here, again, like the first interview, is just being quiet and deferring to this guy. And the sullen look on this guy's face. This guy's not had a good time. Not having a good time. It's very serious.
At that point, I knew he was reloading and that there's not much he was going to be able to do. So I jumped up and I looked down, further down along the back of the...
But what you can say is the way his sentences are forming, the sort of disjointed, oh, I remember this, and then I remember that, and then I remember this. He's putting it together in his mind. It's very fresh, and it's almost the first time he's had to walk his mind through it. So that's very telling of an honest response, where people remember little details, and I did this, and then, oh, I remember I did that. Sounds quite convincing.
The bar is all glass, and I saw someone throw a bar stool through the window.
He doesn't seem to construct that from anywhere. And the way his arms move in sync with his speech, it's almost like he's reliving it. Yeah, that seems very honest to me. And at the same point, his friend now is looking at the reporter, but you can see in his eyes the shock, the almost 1,000-yard stare of someone who's been through a trauma. He's tight-lipped. He's almost clenching. He doesn't want to talk about it, this guy. This guy doesn't want to talk about it. And he's almost... I would warrant this guy has not fully taken it all in. It's not all sunk in. And it probably won't for a couple of days for this guy. He's bottled up. And he's going to have to let that out at some point. So why would you want a crisis actor, you know, someone to cause a false flag or whatever the conspiracy theorists say things are? Why would that guy appear so reserved and held back and traumatized? You know, that's not an actor.
A bar stool through the window.
And they started slamming it against the window so we could get out.
And this is really important now. So in contrast, we then come to these two. And like at the very start, these two appear to be smiling. And you can contrast that with the very toned down account from this guy. This guy gives us factual language, and it enables him to hold back his emotions, and you can clearly see he's trying to hold back those emotions. These two, it doesn't seem to have sunk in yet. It's almost detached. But again, not over emotional. These two are clearly struggling with a variety of emotions. As I said, the self-absorption, the joy at being filmed, the joy at surviving the event, and of course the horror that's taken place. And that's similar to these two. This girl does not stop smiling throughout the entirety of this piece. Let's have a look.
The window so we could get out.
It's okay, darling. It's okay. It's okay.
That's how we were able to get out. They broke the window.
So she smiles throughout the entirety. She turns her face away to try and hide the fact that she's smiling. At this point, it's a clear smile, perked up. And it might be because this girl's making such stupid noises. And this girl hasn't got any of the tears that the strong silent guy has. He's clearly traumatized to the point of almost crying. This girl, she feigns crying, she puts her hand over her face, she makes all the noises, but she's not crying. There's no tears. And with this girl smiling, I think what's happening here, this is why I said I wanted to come back to this at the end, because these two appear at the end, is that these two are actually really enjoying being on camera. Maybe not so much this girl, but this girl is giving us inappropriate responses. And maybe it's just this shock response of, you know, laughing inappropriately at the wrong things, not letting it sink in. Maybe it's a defense mechanism to laugh. And maybe this girl is just making her laugh at the inappropriate time by being so over dramatic in her delivery of the response. Now, let me make it clear, like I said, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm not saying that people shouldn't be upset by these traumas and tragedies. But this girl isn't giving us her real level of response. She's embellishing it. She's making it more than it is. And she probably feels she has to, because she knows theoretically it's tragic. She's not feeling that tragedy internally. and she's on the telly. So maybe she's giving us the display that she thinks we want to. We. Who's we? Well, in this girl's world, we has probably been daddy. This is the sort of behaviour of a child who over-exerts their emotions because they know that emotions create reactions in others. But it doesn't seem realistic, and so that's why people are going to say, oh, false flag, look, this girl's smiling. This girl's giving us an act. Because they are. But I think that's a response to the trauma, to the tragedy, and also to this huge thing of being on national television, which, as we're all taught as young people, is very important. To be known. This is your 15 minutes of fame. It's actually happening. They're really here and they're looking at you.
It's okay, darling. It's okay. It's okay.
That's how we were able to get out. They broke the window.
Are we expected to believe she's sad because of the window, the poor window? She just doesn't know quite where to put that over-emotional inflection. And so I'd like to finish by saying a couple of things, and they're slightly political, so here we go. Leave your opinions in the comments. One is that we seem to have this culture of self-absorption, of selfishness. I, me. I'll use my Twitter to tell you about me, about what I think. I'll use my Facebook to show you pictures of me and what I'm doing. And that's encouraged and it's perpetuated. And capitalist values teach that I'm important, individual's important, it's me, it's my rights. Fuck all you, I'll get as much as I can for myself. The clever people, they get all the money by being selfish. But it leads to this confusion, because it's not a natural way to behave as humans. We're social, we're sympathetic, we're empathetic. Thinking about others is natural. That's one thing I'd like to say. Let's just come out of this from my mind. But the other thing I'd like to draw your attention to is the brave, and I should get a picture of him here. This man, Ron Helus. He died, he got shot 9 times. It's a terrible tragedy. He was very brave, and it's very sad. In the context of gun ownership in America and the debate, it's said by one side that the only thing that can stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. This good guy got shot 9 times. And whilst he was very brave, his job, his role as a police officer, forced him into a situation that was fatal. He had to go in there knowing how dangerous it was. It's been reported that the gunman was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, from mental illness. I believe he was a former Marine. And so I'd like to argue that if we want to stop good guys from being killed, that more needs to be done to stop the root cause. Why are people losing their minds and committing mass violence? Why did this guy end up killing all these people? Is it because he was trained to kill? Is it because he was sent to kill? Is it because the process of training and sending him to kill damaged his mind? And is it because he had access to the means to kill? I think we need to look at the desire to train people to kill and to send them out knowing the damage it will cause them, and then to fail to rehabilitate them into society. I think we need to look at these things. I think we need to look at funding of mental health services. Those are the things we need to look at if we want to look at a root cause, and then of course the access to firearms. To somebody from the UK, it just seems unimaginable that so many people have so many guns, and that people could say that more good people with guns outweighing the bad people with guns will stop the violence, because all that seems to do is cause more. So if you want to stop the violence, you need to address the root causes of the things that are causing people to lose their minds, to commit these atrocious acts. And those things are mental health, poverty, and social cohesion. And of course you need to restrict the access to firearms. And one final point, which is that some people will say that my video supports all the ideas that the false flaggers will support. You know, some people try and wrap it up with that context. And something I would say to question that is that if you live in a situation, in a society, where someone can invent a story, if you live in a society where that sort of story can be manufactured and easily believed by the public at large, there is something wrong with that society. And it would be better if these events were false flags, were not real, because then people wouldn't die. But the more likely truth is that the reason you think these stories can be fabricated is because it's far easier for them to be real. America, it's time to put down the gun.